I mean, the way I made it sound, like in the more advanced classes, they were reading things that were a little less ethnic, if you will. But I think that's correct. Um, so yeah, so that was. I mean, there's some other. Okay, I remember watching. I remember having a teacher. She might have been a substitute teacher who wanted us to watch um, Amadeus. She really loved the movie Amadeus. So there's some good, white history. Uh, yeah, and let's see. I remember a teacher who was very excited about poetry, and there was nothing in particular about that was multicultural. Um, so yeah, I remember a basically more kind of generically positive and multicultural sort of discussion of race issues, not the kind of dour.
Like doom
Here,
and
here,
gloom sort of.
yeah, like here's how shitty the legacy of white supremacy has made things for everyone is the vibe I get now from these little CRT fact sheets and stuff that you see people put on Twitter and all that. It seemed more about highlighting the best of people that were not white, rather than sort of a weird focus on whiteness and how terrible it is. That I think that's one kind of high level difference I'd describe it as.
No, that makes sense. And it kind of it's confusing to me too. I know that, some have said that some of the stuff that we're seeing now is on the fringes, especially in places like San Francisco, but I guess because, there wasn't social media. I don't know why, but it just never got very far. It just like kind of like stayed within this crazy bubble and it just never got far at all. It didn't go to K through 12 curriculums. It never went to, to Congress. It was just within this reactionary little bubble. Um, and I guess like it kind of permeated. Like I think one of the new Department of Justice nominees, like she wrote something for the Harvard Crimson that was just I'm sorry, my language. It was just batshit crazy. It was those melanin
Yeah.
conspiracy theories and stuff. Yeah, like she wrote that and like I don't think it was. She was like, oh, it's supposed to be satire. I was like, no, I don't think it was. There was nothing satirical about that. I read that, so
Well,
I think there was.
when did that come out? Because after about 2015, like satire became impossible. At least if you're coming
Oh,
from the.
oh yeah, no. She wrote this in like 98 or 97. It was her when she was in college at Harvard.
Ah,
And it's just in the archive. I think like I forgot who dug it up, but it was everywhere for a while. And I'm like slacking off. I'm like procrastinating from work. I was like, oh my God, like what is this? Like it really just did not like it was those things that you just like, I've always kind of been aware of these like these like conspirational thinking, like these conspiracy but it's just like it's in the mainstream now. And like this is somebody, she's a a DOJ appointee and she was writing this stuff. Like it shouldn't, that's crazy to me.
yeah, like the like an angry militant thing that had been like restricted to like some like artists that like would go on David Letterman or something and make people feel sort of uncomfortable. That's like the normal thing now. Um,
Yeah.
so that famous photo of Malcolm X like looking out the window with his machine gun.
Yes.
Somehow that has been fused with like Bank of America. Like what? How the fuck did that?
No, it's really the most like it's the most absurd thing. And like I think the newest, if you walk around my neighborhood, so I have a
Washington.
roommate who is.
Yeah, so you're in like the hyper, woke type of area, and so am I. And yeah. Yeah, Oakland has a kind of it has a legacy of like black militancy. So it's a little bit less sunshine on this side of the bay, even though literally it's more sunshine than San Francisco. San Francisco, where it's kind of more some semblance of like a happy progressive politics rather than dour and militant, is more the mainstay. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh no, oh yes, I was just saying I do have one roommate who is younger than me by like 3 years, and I think, he is gay. He always had these kind of like these images of pride, like the old pride before gay marriage was legalized. And he always kind of thought, I think like, he came out, he had like just like a supportive family. He had like, everything that you would want to have. But I think there's still this romanticism. Like, the other day we got home at the same time and he said something like, I don't want to live in Rainbow Land. Like, you can't make me live in Rainbow Land, because if you walk around where we live, that's really what it is. Like, it's just like everything is like, like a wash in this rainbow. Everything's so commercialized. Like, it's not like the raunchy pride that it was. It wasn't the sort of thing that he kind of been waiting for when he came out. It's this, like, there are kids at these events. Some of the stuff that I think people are like, oh,
Yeah.
like, you're making too big of a deal. It's like, no, I'm seeing it. Like, it's happening and it's weird.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent in like the non-political world, but like the music world would be trying to promote the idea that all gay guys like Cher, for fuck's sake, It's not. I had a gay friend years ago. He hated that shit. Like, my God, he's like, I like Skinny Puppy.
God.
Yeah, like this. But yeah, I mean, I remember the discussion around gay marriage. For a brief time, it was actually a respectable, if somewhat maybe annoying position, if you're an advocate for gay rights or if you are gay and all that, to think that like gay marriage push was a wolf in sheep's clothing to basically, you know, suppress the gay spirit in the service of a nuclear family neoliberal capitalism or something. And then, but that seemed to have gone right out the window. And in the age of Trump, any sort of noise like that, even though it was a dated issue, by then, any kind of noise like that would make you look terrible. Like they'd question your motives. They'd be like, what the hell is this? It's the furthest thing now from respectable kind of political position. It's just extinct entirely.
I wonder if it's coming back with, like I said, like my roommate and maybe like Gen Z. I think, like, growing up, they were kind of there is like this longing almost. I saw it, before I briefly was part of a grad program and I dropped out, and I saw it a little bit with some of these baby undergrads where, they kind of grown up on these movies, or what's the name? Do you know that novel? I think, is it called Boy Meets Boy? It's like this like fantasy novel about like a completely LGBT world. And I remember reading it. I think
Oh,
it came out in the 2000s, and it made a big splash.
oh yeah. Um, After 2000, my knowledge of stuff, especially related to books, especially aimed at young adults, is like basically
No, I know. I should, like, right when I said that, I was like, "This is why should I ask?" Like, something ridiculous to ask.
When you said Boy Meets Boy, my first thought was Boy Meets World, the TV show. But
Oh, no, no, but it was this young adult novel, which is like, that's a completely other discussion. But it featured like, like these like gay biker cheerleaders and like these like completely supportive. It almost sounded like it could be a very progressive high school today, and that came out in the 2000s. But I think, more likely they were brought up on like these, like, I think they wanted the push, like they wanted their families to be like, oh no, like you make me, and like to like have that push, or like, and then eventually cave, or they wanted to like kind of like run off and have this, what you were talking about, like the quote unquote gay spirit. So, and I think, like, they still kind of wanted that transgressiveness, but it's kind of gone. And so I think, and like I said,
yeah,
now it's like we're in Rainbow Land, and I think like young gay people who kind of miss that element are just like, well, like, what is this?
I think there was a survey fairly recently showing that like a highest percentage of young people ever cited their friend or their parents as their best friends. So maybe and a lot people are leaving home later, and maybe that's sort of a way to reconcile living at home with you know angst over not being independent. Like, well, just tell yourself, I want this to happen, and and my parents are my best friends anyway, and all of that. So like, maybe transgression is kind of a value, just a terminal value at a high level. It just doesn't just doesn't matter as much anymore.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I don't know if that's right. I think it does. It's just people are running out of ways to be, and like that's what this normalize everything movement. I feel like they're not expecting people to capitulate. They'll be like, I don't know, like normalize, just name anything. Like, it's like a fill in the blank. Normalize, what are we normalizing today?
We've named a bunch of things, and so now I can't.
I know, like,
Okay, normalizing. Mental illness. It's okay to have issues.
yeah,
Don't let
so
anyone. and make you
So
feel
we've
bad.
gone past like, normalizing that to like
Bipolar.
celebration almost. And then it's like I don't think people were expecting like that sort of, they wanted some pushback and they were like, "Oh." So then it just kind of keeps getting like, more and more ridiculous. Like normalize not having any standards at work. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Like normalize like
there's no way to like be transgressive or raise cackles without the obvious recourse to just being a fucking conservative. That's off the table. So they're running out of ways to still be progressive but transgressive. You know.
right.
Yeah, Razib Khan, he had a post a while ago talking about how the diminishing returns to liberalism. It's getting ever more idiosyncratic and specific. The thing that they're fighting for next, So it's like, okay, gay is fine, bisexual, transgender is fine, intersex is fine. What maybe intersex combined with disability, combined with, being part of a despised, persecuted religious minority. I don't know. It's like they're having to sort of do this additive thing in ever more complex combinations to keep the transgressive theme somehow still on their side.
No, I think that's why we saw the kind of the emergence of what is it? Two LGBTQIA plus plus plus. Like they have to keep going because like, like everything keeps getting out. That and like what's crazy is people who are outside of cities or no, I mean it's spreading everywhere now. But maybe like pre-COVID, I went into Kramer Books here in DC, and I'm sorry, what was that?
You say Kramer books?
Kramer Books, yes.
Okay. I've only heard of Powell's books. No, not Powell's, not Powell's. Politics and Prose.
Politics and Prose.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, no. Kramer Books is downtown in DuPont, in the DuPont area, and so it's kind of apparently I think like the Obama daughters used to hang out there or something, but it's been there for a while, and it's like it was a decent bookstore. So anyway, I went in there, and I was just kind of grabbing some Christmas gifts for my family, and there was I go past this section and you can tell like very recently it said gay and lesbian, like you could kind of like see that label scrubbed out, and in its place was literally two LGBTQIA plus plus plus, three plus signs. So I mean this isn't fringe anymore, and when you see that it's like okay, so this is normal now, like it's not LGBTQ, it's everything.
boy. I mean, I wonder if there's any sense of like, kind of loss for any given letter. Right? So do lesbians feel like they're losing something being thrown into this basically, dull textbook written by a committee where every T is crossed and every I is dotted. It's it just this is part of the criticism the right and I think some on the left have made about diversity. It just renders any one specific identity just not terribly unique or shining, right? It's just we're all part of this freaking alphabet. I mean, at some point, you can only get to 26 letters long, so we already see the end game there.
Right. Right. No.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And I think when I chose to go by multiracial whiteness,
Yeah.
it's because so first of all, I am basically, I mean, at least in 2021 discourse, I'm like 1/8 Latina. I am a half Arab, and then I'm also, I am white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, and I'm Southern. So I am a big mix of that. And, I think back when I was applying to colleges, it was very much like I remember talking to my guidance counselor and, she told me to check other because there wasn't like includes Middle Eastern wasn't under the white umbrella yet. And I was just like, okay, fine. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like I didn't put any premium on that. I was like, okay, fine. Like I'm other, like I'm not totally English stock. Like it doesn't matter. But now it's also not only is that like what I am, did you see like the it wasn't just an article, but it was written by an NYU professor about like what this is. It's like anyone who has these characteristics, no matter if they're part of the alphabet, if they're part of like no matter like what transgressive like if they have any of these characteristics that they consider normal, then they're part of multiracial whiteness.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
It's weird. So yeah. Okay. So in a sense, I'm trying to get it back to the LGBTQI, etc. if you identify as all of those, you're kind of none of those, and then you just default to the normal majority of straight. So,
Yes.
like, it would be as if
Yeah.
it would be as if that were the case when it comes to sexual orientation and gender and all that. Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, my background is a little bit like that. I mean, Armenia is not in Europe technically, but it is right there where the Caucasus Mountains are, so it's sort of arch white in a sense. Um, it's
No.
Near Eastern, so I mean, I'm about like a third Near Eastern, but you also have the whole aspect or factor of passability. I easily pass as white. So do you easily pass as white?
No, I look extremely Arab because I am. Like my dad is full Egyptian. And the Latina thing is nothing I truly identified with, except that my mom is she is from McAllen, Edinburgh Far, and that's kind of like is almost like as a part of the culture. When I made my account, the company I work for added Latinx. Oh God, no, that's not how you say it. Latinx, whatever that
Oh,
word to the yeah,
Latinch, Latinch.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
whatever
no,
that
I don't
is.
think I pronounce it. Just with the
Yeah,
S.
every time I read it, I just see Latinx. Anyway, that was added to the style guide, and I just like I was losing it. I was like, Democrats. I think because I know that area, I was like, these organizers were like, actually went to go see some of my elderly family members over COVID. I wasn't sure they were going to make it, and like these young, earnest people were running around saying that. Where I was like, oh my god, they're gonna fucking lose. Like they're going to lose.
It's so weird. The area I'm in, there's such a collapse and distinction between like bougie academics and like street fighters on the ground. There's no gap there, such that um, uh, there was a taqueria up the street from me, and last year it was defaced with Latin X, like
Oh my
pro
god.
Latin X, pro Latin X, this Latin X, no Latin X against black or something like that. And I'm like, Jesus, they're vandalizing using that term. Well, that shows you how
No,
quick
it's
something can
like
go from like kind of rarefied academic circles right down to the ground of people who want to smash windows.
are you sure that wasn't like a Cal Arts person who just like came up for today and just like puts on the building? Like, are you sure that it was a local person vandalizing?
I mean, I'm going to assume they're pretty local. I mean,
Like,
it may not be Oakland specifically, but it's probably some city nearby. Yeah, that's California. So in the nation at large, Republicans have a point that Latin X, no one on the ground, generally speaking, uses a term like that. But in California, if what they say is true, that so goes California, or as California goes, so goes the nation. In no time, people on the ground will be saying that, and it will have become organic and bottom up at that point. So
oh, that's I think like that's why why I ended up making my. I was like, I need to like no. Everyone thinks I'm going crazy, or that this isn't going to affect them. But like when I saw that in this region where literally all these young organizers, probably like some of them straight out of school, all they had to do was just go to some of our local places and just like talk to these people. That's all they had to do. They're just like running around just like speaking alien language, and they were everywhere. I guess kind of rallying before the 2020 election. I was like, oh my god, this is horrible. We're gonna like people are going to lose over this word that nobody likes or understands. And I think now there have been autopsies over that, and like there have been lots of great numerous articles written on that. But yeah, it is kind of personal, even though like I would never truly claim it. Without going full self docs, one of my relatives was a professor of Latin American studies, and there was a building named after her at UT Austin. She was the person in my family that had a bit like a quarter of Latina heritage, and I think like she treasured that. So I don't know, it's just out of step with everything, and that really I don't know why or how that brought me to the edge, but it did, and I ended up creating an account to shitpost, which is why we're here now.
wow. So does your roommate see your Twitter, or are
No.
concerned just okay? Yeah. All right. Yeah. I was wondering. I mean, I was going to get to like actually, I wasn't sure I was going to get to this in our discussion, but the fear of being doxxed or fear of being outed. Yeah. I work for a company that has Google as a client, so I kind of indirectly work for Google, and sometimes I wonder about ever somehow getting in trouble for things that I put on Twitter. I've stopped writing articles, and I prefer to do audio, partly as a way to kind of obscure what I'm saying a bit more.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I used to write articles, and I hardly ever do anymore. I just tweet and then and do these. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't. Do you think? Have you ever had a run-in? I guess for me, it wasn't like a huge. I think a lot of people my age now have this fear because of just like people, especially like in the industry, people are just will look for anything. And
Yeah.
like my legal name is like distinctive enough where like it wouldn't pass under. And just, I don't know. I remember just kind of
Yeah,
being worried
exactly.
for my job. What? Sorry?
Well, I said you say your name is unique enough that you'll come up, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a name kind of like that too. My first name more
Yeah.
than my last name, but yeah, it's
I
not.
was, I was going to say, like, when you said that you were Armenian, I was like, he sounds very Irish and he looks very Irish too. One thing about Twitter is
Uh,
you start to kind of want to self-dox yourself. Like after a while, I was like, okay, I need to kind of like start stepping out because it makes you kind of, I mean, it can be good and bad, but when I saw people who weren't, once you kind of see people like intelligent people, normal people saying like you're not crazy for not adopting some of this stuff, it makes you feel a
yeah,
little better. Yeah.
I think that you're like kind of like up and coming. You know, I uh I used to promote I used to promote music. This is kind of a stretch trying to link these things, but I used
No,
to
go for it.
promote music, and I was a music promoter. I was a DJ and stuff, and I would want to like I almost said expose. That's not a good term here, but like I wanted to highlight and bring people's attention to like kind of new music and new sounds and all of that. And now I feel like I'm doing that on Twitter with certain political accounts, politically oriented accounts, which I'd say yours is. So yeah, so I I maybe I'm the first one to interview you. I don't know. Seems like I am, but
No, you certainly are. Well, sort of, I think I have revealed who I am to a couple of people in the industry just because I mean, I guess it's like it's small enough where you can tell, even if you're just like a surf level media employee like I am. But it's very much
okay. So you're
I
working. Yeah. I'm not
yes,
gonna ask any more than that. Okay. Yeah. All right.
yes. Um, but yes, I do think I I take that as like a huge compliment. Thank you. And I think you're doing great work. Keep, highlighting everybody.
Yeah. Like I classify you sort of in the Alice from Queens school somehow.
That's a
I don't
meritocracy
know.
that
Like,
stands
and
to
I
like
know you're on the east. You're on the East Coast. Of course, I didn't know that until like a half hour ago or something. But yeah. So
not
anyway,
of East Coast origin, but yeah, I'll put you in my like in my
yeah,
ResiCon West Coast.
youth oriented, a little heretical on politics, East Coast, female. You see something starting to come together now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, of course. And I'll put you on my West Coast transgressive list that includes ResiCon, who is very great.
Yeah, I live in the epicenter of the rationality movement. I don't know if you heard of a guy named Scott Alexander, but I've kind of got one foot in that milieu and the other foot in just kind of regular kind of right wing or disillusioned liberal, whatever you want to call it.
No, I think at this point, like I would used to call myself a Jim Webb liberal, but like God knows what he's probably like thinking God, he's far, far away from this. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, all right. Well, yeah. So these usually go out about a week after the recording, and then I break it into two parts to get a little more marketing mileage.
no, of course, and I will be sure to promote this and all of your. And I was like, you've spoken to some great people.
Yeah, yeah. You're my 11th interviewee now, so yeah. See how this goes. Cool.
Well,
All
it was
right.
a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, straight out of DC, MWA. I might tweet something like that. I don't know. Cool. All right. Talk to you later.
You
Have a
as
nice
well. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.